Over the years, scientists and medical researchers have debated over the exact definition of a pandemic. But one thing everyone agrees on is that the word describes the widespread outbreak of disease, above what might normally be expected in a geographical area. So, let's get started. At number 10 is the third cholera outbreak of 1852, with a death toll of 1 million. Cholera is an infection caused by ingestion of food or water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. The third cholera pandemic was the third major outbreak of cholera. Like the first two outbreaks, it originated in India from the Ganges River Delta, before spreading to the rest of Asia, Europe, North America and Africa, killing over 1 million people. At number 9, the Russian flu pandemic of 1889. With a death toll of 1.5 million. Influenza, also known as the flu, is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses. There are various strains of the influenza virus and it can mutate. This pandemic is believed to originate in Bukhara, in the south of the Russian Empire, modern-day Uzbekistan, in May 1989, and in just 4 months it had spread across the northern hemisphere. This pandemic was able to spread so quickly worldwide due to the rapid population growth during the 19th century, particularly in urban areas. This was compounded by the fact that modern transport infrastructure allowed people to travel vast distances by road, train or sea, thus spreading the virus. At number 8, the Asian flu pandemic of 1956, with a death toll of over 2 million. This influenza outbreak originated in China in 1956, and within months it had spread to Singapore, Hong Kong and the United States. The Asian flu was a Category 2 flu pandemic outbreak of avian influenza, which came from a mutation in wild ducks combining with a pre-existing human strain. At number 7, the Antonine Plague of 165 AD. With an estimated death toll of 5 million. The cause of this is unknown, but it is believed to be smallpox or measles. It was referred to as the Antonine Plague after the Roman emperor at the time, Marcus Aurelius. This epidemic most likely emerged from China shortly before 165 AD and spread westward via the Silk Road. When the Roman troops began to return from campaigns in the Near East, they unwittingly spread the disease all over the Roman Empire, killing off over 5 million people, roughly 10% of the empire's entire population. At number 6, the third plague of 1855, with a death toll of 12 million. The cause of this was the bubonic plague, and the bubonic plague is one of the 3 types of plague caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis. It is mainly spread by infected fleas and from small animals, which they reside on. The victims are described as suffering from delusions, nightmares, fevers and swellings in the groin, armpits and behind their ears. This plague originated in the Yunnan province of China and was the first bubonic plague to have reached all 6 inhabited continents, killing over 12 million people. It is estimated that most of the deaths, 10 million, were in India. At number 5, the New World Smallpox pandemic of 1492. With an estimated death toll of 15 to potentially more than 25 million. Smallpox arrived in the New World, the Americas, on a ship sailed by the infamous explorer Christopher Columbus in 1492. The natives of the island had no immunity to smallpox and were rapidly devastated by the disease. It took 2 years for the smallpox outbreak to spread to the mainland, modern-day Mexico, and to the then capital of the Aztec Empire, Tenochtitlan. The major form of the disease has a mortality rate of 30 to 35% and has several serious complications, and these were even worse for the Aztecs, who had no previous immunity to the disease. Number 4, the HIV/AIDS pandemic of 1981 onwards, with an estimated death toll of over 35 million. HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, is a virus that attacks cells that help the body fight infection, making a person more vulnerable to other infections and diseases. If left untreated, it can develop into AIDS. HIV originated in Central and West Africa in non-human primates. It is widely accepted that it actually began in the 1920s and slowly spread, but only became fully diagnosed in the 1980s. It has since gone on to kill over 35 million people since 1981, and of 2018, there were approximately 38 million people infected with the virus, predominantly in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population is infected, roughly 21 million people. At number 3, the plague of Justinian, 541 AD, with a death toll of 30 to 40 million. This was also a bubonic plague, and it is believed to have originated in Central Asia and was carried to the Great Lakes region of Africa via land and sea trade routes. At the time, the Byzantine Empire was fighting on several fronts, resulting in lots of trade and military movement around their empire, which provided perfect conditions for the spread of such a plague via rats and fleas stowed away on the boats. It was named after the reigning emperor, Justinian I, who also caught the disease yet did not die from it. This plague is thought to have killed 30 to 40% of the population in Europe at the time, with several reoccurrences over the next 200 years, bringing the total dead to 30 to 40 million. At number 2, the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, with an estimated death toll of over 50 million. It is not definitely known where Spanish flu originated, but the ones suggested to be the most likely are France, China, Britain and the United States. The first known case was recorded in the US at a military base in Kansas on March the 11th, 1918. Over the next 2 years, over a third of the world's population were infected, some 500 million people. If it didn't originate in Spain, then why was it called Spanish flu, I hear you ask? Spain was one of the few major European countries to remain neutral during World War I, and so their newspapers were uncensored. As the news of the flu was only coming out of Spain, it led people to assume that the country was the pandemic's ground zero. Spanish flu killed more people than the whole of World War I, and in less time. The principal factor in the virus's rapid spread around the world was, of course, World War I, then in its last phase. The war created malnourishment, overcrowded medical camps and hospitals, and poor hygiene, which promoted bacterial superinfection. This superinfection killed most of the victims, as, unlike most flu viruses, this strain hit the healthy 20 to 40 age bracket also. Some analyses have shown the virus to be particularly deadly because it triggers a cytokine storm, which ravishes the stronger immune system of younger adults. At number 1, and the most deadly pandemic in the world ever, was the Black Death of 1346, which went on to kill over 200 million people. It used to be thought that the Black Death originated in China, but new findings indicate it began in early 1346 in the steppe region, where a plague reservoir stretches from the northwestern shores of the Caspian Sea into southern Russia. People can still catch plague there to this day. The rulers of this area at the time, the Mongols, had recently converted to Islam, so trade talks with the Christians of Europe was no longer tolerated. This did not stop the virus steaming eastwards towards China, India, Persia, Syria and Egypt, wreaking havoc on the local people and communities, and led to the fall of the mighty Mongol Empire. The Europeans' luck did not last for long though. It hit Constantinople in May 1347, and this is where it began to spread rapidly to cities around the Mediterranean and then into mainland Europe, encompassing the whole continent, and by 1352 had killed an estimated 40 to 60% of Europe's inhabitants, bringing the total killed to over 200 million, more than both world wars combined. The Black Death caused such a high number of deaths compared to other bubonic plagues because of increases in population density and in trade and transport. At the end of 2019, in the region of Wuhan, China, a new novel coronavirus, COVID-19, began appearing in humans. While it was initially seen to be an epidemic in China, the virus has spread worldwide within months and currently has over 1.5 million recorded cases with over 90,000 deaths. The World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic in March 2020, and the infection rate in the US, UK, Europe, and numerous other nations was still rising sharply. I would like to take this opportunity to advise people to listen to the advice given by their respective countries' medical professionals and stay safe. Thanks for watching.